you know, after we made, what was the record we made prior to this? We made the symphony
Native
record.
Sense was the one prior to.
No, we made the symphony record.
Crystal Silence.
The new Crystal Silence. Right.
So
Oh,
the
yeah.
symphony and then the
Right.
duet. And so, but this idea of this record, which we're calling Hot House, by the way, after so Dizzy's tune,
Tad
Dameron's
yeah.
song, Hot House. We had this idea going of like wanting to try to make a part of the repertoire be quote unquote standards, like not chick tunes or jazz tunes, but tunes that we knew or grew up with that would be familiar to, somewhat familiar. And I thought that was a great idea. So that, but the recording developed over several tours.
Mm-hmm.
Like we rehearsed, and then we went out on tour, and then we actually recorded.
We started recording and then toured some more and then came back and did some of it over. And
We did all of it over.
Yeah, that's right.
We did the whole record over again because it just wasn't. We didn't have that touring grease into the music yet. So we toured a second time, came back and recorded again, and then the music was flowing more. But then I thought interesting thing was then we were talking about the Harlem String Quartet and wanting to do something with them, and it was like should we put them on the record because it's a duet record. It's not a string quartet record at all. So I just, for an experiment, I took the one original that I wrote, Mozart Goes Dancing, and I arranged it for string quartet. And I have an experience, which is, we did our experiment here in New York. We went into a recording studio, and Gary just came in, and I had rehearsed the string quartet a little bit with Mozart Goes Dancing. And we threw down a couple of takes, which, in my opinion, turned out, the take that we chose turned out to be just like kind of in my head right now. It's like the greatest Gary Burton vibe solo ever played. And so I wrote to Gary. I said, Gary, we got to put this on the record. Because Gary, you were unsure about whether to put it on the record.
Yeah.
You know. But that's how the one track got included. We were going to call the record Mozart Goes Dancing, but then we
I confused the people a little bit.
Well, Hot House has a kind of an all-encompassing vibe to it.
So that, you know, that's going to come out, and we're going to tour based on that repertoire next year.
Mm-hmm.
Any plans to expand beyond this? Any other things you want to do?
Well, the big band? No.
Well,
we come up with something new. It seems like about the time we think that we run out of things to do, a great idea comes along and we dive into it, and that carries us for the next year or two. We played every year for 40 years now. We've never taken a year off. We've always got something new to start working on, and some new music to tour with. We like to tour before we record. Most people do the opposite. They make the record and then they go tour. We like to do a good amount of touring with the music to really get it settled in front of audiences before we put it on record.
Part of the fun for me for the duet too is that Gary's are always willing to be challenged by weird stuff I write, and so you know, I like to write stuff, and knowing what you can do with your musicality and your instrument, you know, I just write stuff, and then we get into it, and it turns out nice.
Okay. I might have asked this before, but did you ever tour with the Lyric Suite?
Yes.
You did?
Oh yeah, we made a whole tour before we recorded.
We did 20-some concerts with the string quartet. This was in 1984 or 5 or something.
We played Europe.
Then we made the record, and then we toured again to Europe and Japan. So we did. I remember counting it. The final concert was our 60th concert with the string quartet. We did quite a bit over about a year and a half.
Yeah, and we played like jazz festival type environments with that, but mostly concert hall.
Yeah, it was very well received.
Okay, that answers that. So it's not a new thing to tour with the string quartet.
No, but ever since that time we've sort of had in the back of our mind that we wanted to do it again because that went so well. I think the surprising thing to us then was how responsive the audiences were to this crossover between jazz and chamber music, and you know, made us feel like, okay, we can. This is something we can continue to explore.
Well then.
Cool.
Thank you. Okay.